coming to our Women in Real Estate event this morning. It's lovely to see so many of you here. I'm Mary, I'm the VP of Marketing here at Drooms, and today I'm being joined by these 5 fabulous women, all working in leadership positions, who are going to be sharing their best practice advice, talking about challenges in leadership, and yeah, sharing their kind of findings. So could you please all start maybe by introducing yourselves, your position, your role, and as a fun icebreaker, a fun fact that nobody knows about you.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Jolien de Jongh, work for Sustainable Capital Group as an associate partner. Yeah, I really had to think about this, but maybe not super funny, but I was born on a farm in the eastern part of the Netherlands, so most people don't expect it.
I'm Irene Flotman. I'm a managing director at CBRE. I'm responsible for the company. A fun fact, yeah, I wasn't born quite poor, and I know that when I was small, I always wanted to have braces. I don't know, I wanted to have braces, so I said to my parents, I want to have braces as well, because it was a hype back then. And my parents say, no, we cannot pay for that. So what I did is that you have the garbage bags, you know, with the strips. I pulled it off, I pulled the plastic off, and then you had the wire, and I put it in my mouth, and I came into my class, and I said, I have a brace as well. And all the children said, let's have a look, Irene. Oh, I have a brace. Yeah, that stayed for about a year, and then I thought, okay, forget about it. That's the fun part. Yeah.
Well, my name is Dominique Schillings. I'm head of asset management at abrdn, and a fun fact is that I drive too fast to the office each day listening to hip hop and rap music. And I have the most penalties of the office, so...
My name is Jolien de Jongh. I'm a manager ESG in Achmea Real Estate. That's a new name since 1st of June for the Synthesis of Achmea Real Estate. Finance. Fun fact about me is that I like to make puzzles in which you don't puzzle the front of the box, but you puzzle the future or the past. Get nerdy. Puzzles, you know?
The puzzle, but the past and the future of the box?
Yeah, from the image on the box, so you don't puzzle the box. That's a bit nerdy.
That's a bit strange.
I shouldn't laugh because yeah, Melanie Grüneke, I'm heading the office for Realis in the Netherlands. Yeah, fun fact, weird fact maybe, is that I love hiking. I love hiking long distance trails. And to save weight, because it's all about the weight of your backpack, I cut out the tags of my shirt, and I'm thinking about cutting the toothbrush in half so to save weight. So yeah, it's a thing in that scene, but maybe for outsiders, a little bit weird.
I'll be honest, I think those are the most bizarre fun facts I've ever heard on a panel like this. Brilliant. Okay, so let's start off. Can you tell us a bit about your career today? Did you always know you wanted to work in real estate? You know, what led you here? Melanie, you can start.
No, I didn't plan anything like that. Life happened to me, so I was not sitting in a sandpit building houses. That was nothing I did. And it was simply the fact that I didn't have a particular talent. I was not Marie Curie, Beethoven. I didn't feel the urge to do something special. So I started a tax, found that a little bit too boring, but a Sorry.
Impossible.
One came to the other, and I found myself in this industry, which today I love very much, because in asset management, particularly in asset management, you have all those different aspects. I'm sitting at the screen, crunching numbers, I have law aspects, I see people, I have something to touch, I can create something. So I'm happy to be where I am without having planned anything.
Jolien?
For me it was the same. I think I studied tax law. When I graduated, it was quite a challenging time in 2011. So I was happy to find a job. And then after a couple of years, I made a more good choice and started working in real estate. Yeah, I really love it. Before the 1st of April, I was an asset manager with my own portfolio, and I did a lot of sustainability projects that really drives me, and also a lot of social impact projects. And now I'm able to do it for all of the company. So yeah, I really love the combination.
Well, to be honest, Mary, I did draw pictures and make houses when I was a little child. So my mom even collected the drawings I made from 1985 till 1995. I made a booklet of it. But I always wanted to be an architect, to be honest. So I wanted to create, I wanted to develop. I come from a real estate family, so I'm from the south of the Netherlands, in Maastricht, and my family is Ruiters, perhaps. If you know the company that just sold off Q Park, but so except the fact that I'm from a real estate family, I really liked the design plans, and that's what driven me to be in real estate.
Yeah, you probably think of the braces story, she's crazy. I am. So I wanted to be a truck driver, but the director of the kindergarten, lagere school, he said, well, that's a little bit of a pity. So I studied notary law after working for 2 years in order to pay for my study. But I didn't, I did some internships at larger offices. And I don't like the hierarchy. So I thought, okay, what next? So after 3 side steps, I started working at a smaller consultancy company in real estate. And we were acquired by CBRE in 2010. So after that, I really became a real estate agent.
For me, I studied human geography and planning, and I completely chose that because I liked it. And I did my second master's in finance, and by the time, actually, that was the perfect combination to work in real estate finance within a bank. So I started there, and then actually immediately loved the real estate environment. And I think that is because, we all live in real estate, things happen there. If you're not outside, then you're in a building. So buildings have their stories, stories from the past, but also the stories that will be there in the future. So that's what I really love about the area.
Perfect, thank you for sharing. So let's go to the first question. So what do you think makes a good leader? Are there any specific traits or skills that you need to be a good leader?
Can I start? I think it's very important to empower others, let people grow, so letting them free, letting them be themselves, getting the most out of them, but also very important to be there when they need help. So that they feel that you're around, but you really want to let them grow.
I totally agree. So skip the ego and take decisions in the benefit for the collective and not for yourself. So I believe very much in servant leadership, and also especially when you are managing a larger team or a company. I think it's important to be clear and decisive. So it's better to take a wrong decision than not taking a decision. Thank you.
That's a good point, ego. That's a thing that we should keep behind. No, I think I look at my own leadership role, and I don't know if I'm a brilliant leader, but I'm very open. So we, with a team, we're with 23 people in the Netherlands doing the real estate department, and we feel like a team. So I'm taking the decisions, but it's always feeling the co-ownership and making people involved. And if you're involved, you're happy to be part of that team and work together. So I think that a good leader is being somebody that is, of course, empowering and proactive, but also making you part of the team.
Yeah, I think for me it's also the word involvement, and for me a good leader gives other people self-confidence and stimulates working together.
Yeah, all what you said. If I should add something, then it's about communication. Communicate, explain why you're doing what you're doing. Explain, not just have a vision, but explain your vision. Take the people along. Sometimes a CEO is sitting in his Elfenbein tunnel, in his marble tower, and people can't follow. He has the best, or she has the best intentions, but people don't know what the intention is, and you're losing them. So communicate to take them along with you.
One of the things I've sort of learned is also looking at bad leaders, that you can learn quite a bit from how not to be as well. Perfect. So what's the hardest and easiest part of leading a team? Irene, do you want to go first?
Well, I think I'm the least experienced of this group, but I get a lot of projects, so maybe I'm more experienced in that. Well, the hardest for me is if you have a goal, that was really a lesson for me, and then try not to go too fast and take everybody with you, because there are always people, there's always I think 1/3 who's enthusiastic anyway, so they will go with you, and there's a part that's okay, and they will go with you if you explain what you want to do, and there's also a part of people who resist in the beginning, or who will resist anyway, and to bring them up to speed, and yeah, I really have to learn that you sometimes have to go back and explain a bit more to bring people up, and yeah, and then they can be surprisingly good for your project and give you new insights, which at the start you would not expect.
Dominique, do you want to add anything?
No, I think that's really well said. When I started 1.5 years ago, I was in the most busiest period. There are always busy periods, but the most busy period of our company. So we launched a few funds. There were new investors stepping in, stepping out. Middle of 5 deals going on, and my previous director, which I took over, he committed suicide. So it was a terrible period. Everybody was sad, and I stepped in as a new leader. So what you see is that it's all about relationships. Even if you're working and in your house with your partner or with your family or friends, and you have to take the time to build a relationship. But if that's such a crowded period that you're in, you don't have the time to invest in the person. So that means that you're dragging along and taking the business. And what Milena says is, I was in an ivory tower, taking all the decisions and trying to just survive. And after a half year, I thought, oh wow, I just took all the decisions by myself. And that's why I said, totally going to change that and be involved and learn people. And I had the time to do that. So, and then we became a team. So then easy is, as you know each other, you can just, well, sometimes we shout and say, we're with men, so do this. And then it's okay, we're going to do this, right? But if you don't know each other, it's like, why is she doing like that? And I don't want to do that. So I think the easiest part is if you get to know each other, you can easily communicate with each other. That's something I learned.
Yeah, if I can maybe add something to that, I think you're completely right, and I think it's very important to know each other extremely well, and I'll always really believe in, if you're more like a family than a bunch of colleagues, that in the end will work way better than when you don't know each other.
Okay, so obviously,
May I add something?
Of course.
Sorry. Maybe it's personal, I don't know, but I find the hardest to let the team do things and find solutions. So as long as you're in the business, the more you might think, oh, I've seen it all, which is never the case in real estate, but you think you know it and you know the answer. And for me, it's quite hard to step back and let the team find their solution, which is very often much better than what I intended to do.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
So I'm not a leader as a friend. I aspire to be one day. Thank you. I aspire to be one day for sure. But the beautiful thing that Jesus said in the beginning when I started working, I'm still quite young. So when I started working, I selected my sponsors with the company. Some people that I thought were going to make me grow, where I could pull up on, and I wanted them to tell me how to do my job. Because they are successful and I want to be successful, so I'm just going to do what they do. And I was very lucky, and I am very lucky that the people around me are the people, are real leaders in the sense that they let me develop my own authenticity that I'm still sometimes scared to develop, because I'm creating my own way of doing things, and I'm in the beginning of my career, so it's scary sometimes, but the way I already developed and the way I'm already growing in my own way, that's the reason why they selected me. And that's the leaders around me already knew that I was going to grow in a certain way, and without telling me you're going to do it like this, and you're going to go that way, I went that way anyway. So I'm very happy that they're letting me develop in my own authentic way. And I think it's very important that the leaders around you acknowledge where you're going, are able to steer, but only where you're going wrong, and not put you in a certain direction. So I think that's very beautiful to say that.
And I think it's okay to be scared. It's totally fair. You can be scared, but there might be, so a leader is there to protect you as well. Yeah, to create a safe surrounding, do your thing, do your mistake, ask questions, be scared, it's all fine. There is a person responsible for protecting you.
Irene, yeah, because I was curious what you can add, because you're heading a large.
My challenge from my perspective now is stakeholder management, because we have so many stakeholders. You have the Americas, you have the peers in continental Europe, you have your line manager, you have all the people. So I think that's the most difficult thing in my job. And what I do is really think about what is the plan. So I'm projecting system thinking. Who are all the stakeholders? What are the silos? What is our common thing? And how do I manage that? And the easiest part is, I think, people are, we should trust everyone to do his best or her best. So I think the easiest part is just having fun. We have fun. And I laugh all the time. Not always, but a lot. And I think that is, relax, have fun, and trust that we all want to accomplish the best. Because that's how we are as people, I think.
Yeah.
Great advice. And obviously as leaders as well, you need to make a lot of tough decisions. What would you say is the toughest decision you've had to make today? Irene, do you want to go first?
The toughest decision I had to make, yeah, what I wouldn't do again is when I worked at the previous company, I worked for the consultancy firm. One of my best friends worked there, and it didn't work out. Her manager reported into me, and she had to be fired. And you know, I was convinced to have a role in that process, and I will never do that again. I will never, you know, let private interfere with business. My private life has more priority than my business life. If I have to drop it tomorrow, I will do it.
Anyone else? Toughest decision?
I think the toughest decision because I'm very enthusiastic about a lot of things and I have a lot of energy. When at my previous company I worked at Bouwfonds and we had an office in Berlin and we had an office in Hoevelaken. For some of you who don't know Hoevelaken, it's near to Amersfoort. I love to travel, so we had a lot of real assets to Europe, and I didn't have any kids yet, so I was traveling around and created my air miles and could even fly for free sometimes because of those. But then I got my first child and the second one, and then I said I also want to be part of my kids, their lives. So not only see them like, well, hi, here's mom on Friday, and good luck with the nanny for the rest of the time. So I had to make the decision between being a good mom and being the manager, which I was at that time. So I said to myself, well, I want to do both, which is difficult. So I ended up making the decision to reduce the number of responsibility, and that was a tough decision as you've been very enthusiastic and want to do everything. So I think that was the most crucial choice in my career.
And was your manager or your company, were they supportive of that decision?
Yeah, they were. They were. We just had a discussion about, well, I have a lot of, because I started as studying law, and all of my best friends are actually lawyers. They wanted to be partners, and at the moment they got kids. The company said, well, bye-bye partnership. So that's something we discussed with you guys. Bouwfonds was very supportive, and they said, well, Dominique, we're going to look what we can offer you, being a mom, which we think is very important as well, but also being that leader and growing your position. So I split half of the position between my German colleague and myself, and still got the opportunity to travel, but less than I did before. So it worked out, to be honest, but not all companies do that.
Maybe not a specific example, but more in general, I think when you have to make decisions that impact people's personal life, then that's always a bit hard in our jobs, I think.
Anything else?
Yeah, for me also maybe personal. I had sort of a burnout because I heard it on the first panel. It was a combination of private and working balance because a lot of was going on in my family, but that's I think always something that you have to always be aware of and make choices. You're the only one responsible for you, nobody else is responsible for you.
Okay, next question is quite a tough one. Can you share one mistake or failure you have made in your career?
Well, made thousands of mistakes, and I think that's all okay. That's what we learn from. But maybe one big mistake I would say that I found a job somewhere, and thought that would really fit me and that I would really like it. But in the end, I actually found out that it didn't fit me at all. And I actually stayed there way too long because I wanted to do it good and I wanted to succeed in that role. But looking back, I have to say way faster to myself, this is not a fit. And please use your strength and not your weaknesses.
I couldn't tell you about a particular mistake. I did thousands, and my plan is really to forgive myself. I will continue to make mistakes, hopefully not the same ones, but this feeling of staying awake at night and rethinking the same situation and think what you could have done better and feeling bad about it and thinking what will the others think now about you. And my plan is really to stop that and forgive myself, just look at it and say, look ahead, move forward. That is also the advice I give colleagues when they punish themselves and don't feel good about how they performed. Things happen. I think we shouldn't talk about too much of mistakes we did. It's a lot about success.
And also maybe not be afraid to apologize, because sometimes we say things we regret later. And,
You think so?
If somebody,
Women apologize constantly.
yeah, but sometimes
Let the guys start to apologize.
Also to women, I sometimes have to apologize.
Of course, yeah, I am kidding with.
I totally agree, Irene. And after you're 40, then you're looking back at what you did in the past, and where you first thought, oh, I made this mistake, I'm terrible, and what do people think? And then you get a little bit older and you think, well, what the heck, I don't care. No, but the only, I think, mistakes, I think that you don't need to be that personal. So women intend to be personal in conflicts, personal about things, and that's the difference between us and men, is that they don't make things that personal, and that's what, after a lot of years spending with men, I discovered, don't take it personal, it's your thing and not mine.
Agree. Yeah, for me it was not doing things for the wrong reasons. I was, as I explained, I was born relatively poor. And in the beginning of my career, I ran, 20 times around the block in order to get acknowledgement. And I was working until 4 in the morning, and I was working to get that acknowledgement. And my gut feeling said, Irene, you're not doing it the right way. This is not okay. But I didn't listen to the gut feeling. And then my first husband fell in love with another woman. I got breast cancer. So I don't say, it's, how do you say that as a lawyer? Yeah, it's connected. But still, I believe that if you don't listen to your gut feeling, if you don't do it, then I think we are here in life to learn. Life wants you to learn something. So if you don't listen, then life would want to show you something. I think. So that was my doing things for the wrong reason.
It's interesting, we were talking about gut feeling in the panel before. I think you mentioned always trusting your gut feeling.
Yeah,
right?
you said it.
So how have you seen the work environment change for women since you started your career?
Well, when I started at ABN AMRO in the real estate department, I think we were with 3 or 4 ladies. changed already over time when I worked at ABN AMRO. But in the company I work now for, I think it's at least 50% ladies, but maybe even a little bit more. So that's, yeah, I think that's really a nice thing. Not all companies are there yet, but if I see this group over here, I think we will get there in the end.
May I ask those women, are they in which department are they? Are they in HR and marketing, or are they in real business?
They're actually, I would say, almost all either on director level or associate partner level.
In which department?
In the real estate department, we have a clean energy department, circularity and waste department, and agri-food department. It's a corporate finance boutique. And actually, the company is really stimulating people to also take a share in the company. Also very fast in their career, not when they start as an analyst, but a little bit higher, then they can already take a bit of the company. So it's really stimulating people to grow and stay there, and yeah, and the company is really empowering also men, but also women.
Yeah, short sidestep in anticipation previous. I met the love of my life before you think, oh, that's a sad Irene. It's totally wasted. I met the love of my life. I'm married to him now, and I did the marriage ceremony of my first husband with the same woman. So we're totally happy now. For women, yeah. When I started, I was almost the only women. So I see more women now. But what I said to you or to one of you, very proud of you, because you were very strong, so keep up. Is that, you know, it's not only about diversity, but staying there. And I see too much that women come in that position, but they won't stay there. So it's a culture thing. And we have a lot of teams, so it also has to do with subcultures. And we're fighting against it, but there's a long way to go, I think, in some subcultures.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm happy to hear that you're 50-50, because we're not even close. So as I mentioned, I'm the only woman, and we have a secretary. That's it. So I think that from the moment I started in 2005-ish, I haven't seen that much changes, to be honest. But and that's also the reason why I said yes to this meeting, is because. As I mentioned, I wanted to be an architect, and I wanted to be in that scene. And you see that a lot of women, if they choose to go for the TU and the Delft, and they always want to be that architect, or the designer, or whatever. But being the investor is also really, really nice. And I think that what I've learned of my father's best friends is Jolien, which is an architect. He advised me really not to be an architect. He said, well, there's only one person that makes the decisions, and that's me. And I have a lot of people behind me that can make a small drawing of the building, but they're not doing the actual things. So don't be an architect, but be on the investor side, because it's one room who pays decides. So and that's why I want to motivate, and we just said that I'm actively looking for women to join. That our company is really great, and you can do a lot of nice things. Yeah. I want a lot of women.
Well, I started working in 2012, beginning of 2012. I think it really differs per company. My current company is really feminine. We're part of the insurance company, so our CEO is Bianca Tetro, she's a woman, and then the real estate department. So yeah, I'm in the MT, and we're 50-50, so I really don't have to complain.
Yeah, things have changed the last 25 years that I'm in business. So when I started, you have to be careful that you're not the one being asked for coffee. I think I'm coming from Germany, I'm working for a German company, so I'm do that too much, but I'm comparing a little bit. In Germany, the situation is different, far different. When I came to the Netherlands 5 years ago, I was quite shocked. I didn't expect to see, I think there were 2 or 3 women in leading positions, except marketing or HR. In Germany, we had Angela Merkel. I think she pushed a lot just by being a woman. She didn't do much. She just was there in her very pragmatic way. And then the discussion of gender quotas came up. Germany was quite quick in deciding we want to have something like that. We having a female board member for many, many years already. And I think we might all have forgotten about it, but there was this Me Too discussion 4 or 5 years ago. And that boosted the awareness of how women should be treated in the business life. I think a big difference today when it comes to behavior, how do we act with each other.
I think in my former company, Cushman & Wakefield, there was in the time of the Me Too discussion. I think there something really changed after that. Yeah. Culture, maybe.
And what do you think organisations should be doing more of to kind of get more women in leadership? Like Dominique, you mentioned your business doesn't have that many. What do you think they should be doing more of?
Campaign, I think that Aberdeen in the Netherlands is not so well known, so we're like very quiet, big investor firm, but exposure of what we're doing, I think that's the key thing. And then I think we are evolving and really find a way in finding new roles. So they will find Aberdeen, but we need to do something about our exposure. So that's I think the most important thing is. So we're actually launching our marketing campaign. So in the next few months, you will see a lot of my picture. Try to be in the background more Aberdeen, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say also, I think a lot of, I have a lot of to thank for the male role models in my life. So I think also it's important that we discussed it, male role models. We all need each other, so who can promote us as well. So we need to fight for ourselves, I totally agree. But, I read an article about men on the south axis. I explained they were working at a bank, I don't know, I think. And one of them wanted to go on paternity leave, and he was bullied by his own male colleagues. So men have perhaps the same, or perhaps not the same, but they also have problems. So I would say, also focus on male role models.
Why is that better than focusing on female role models?
It's not better. I think we need both. If we are talking about inclusiveness, we all need each other. And, I also believe that in our company and in every company, it's about the type of person. We all have red men and red women also. And now we have yellowish and green and blue people, because we all need each other. It doesn't have to do with male or women. But we need to, we need to have respect for each other. I think it starts with respect. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Because this is, I asked that question because this is a women in real estate event, and I think we all know that we are in the minority in the real estate sector.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very proud and very much look up to all of you because you're also female role models to me. And I think especially in the real estate sector we already have a lot of male role models. So for me to be inspired to work up the ladder is actually by female role models. So I think that there are already a lot of male role role models in this sector?
I mean, male role models who nourish women.
In that way?
Yeah. You know, I was very proud because I come to Provada for a couple of years now, and I was very proud that I saw there was a big row in front of the women's toilets, for example. Yeah! We're getting there, you know, finally!
No, I think that both support is very wise, and I think that in the role that we are, at one moment you need to step aside and make the pathway for new people. So, and that's also my goal, is just to find somebody that can take a leadership position within our company and that I can do other things. So join. So that's my focus, is driving the women that we hire into that management position.
I have a question for the back row maybe. Would it make a difference for you when deciding which job you go for if you knew that your manager would be female and not male? Would that, of course there are many other reasons, but would that be something to prefer or consider, or doesn't it play a role at all?
I think what Irene said as well. I think for me, I always say that I can do the job that I do in any company. It's about the people that I do it with, which makes I always say I can do the job that I do in any company, but it's about the people that I do it with that make the change. So really having a connection, I think, with the manager who is hiring and the team is really important. But I wouldn't necessarily, if I match with either if the manager is a woman or if it's a man, if we've got that connection and I feel like they're supporting me in what I want to do and their passion for the company and what their ambition and what their vision is, I think, not related to gender, but that would really inspire me to choose it.
Would you think that the woman would be more supportive in your career if the manager would be female? Because that's the whole discussion about quotas, right? We believe that a gender quota would lead to more women in higher positions. But if you say, well, I really don't care who I'm working for, if it's a man or a woman, then I think the discussion is useless, because even though I might have the intention to support women more than men, if you don't believe it, why am I doing this?
I think it's also, I work in a female-dominated team, so we are with 14 people, of which 13 are women. So all my colleagues are women, so which I obviously really love. I love working with all these inspiring women. So maybe I'm just really lucky to be in this position, that I got this job where I already went into this team with so much. So I think in that sense, maybe when entering a room for an interview and there were only male colleagues, I would be like thinking, what is the dynamic here? But if it's just a manager, I think just a connection from human to human.
I agree with that.
Just to add to the.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I just want to add to that, because the question was about male versus female managers. Some of the most or least encouraging managers that I've had in my career have been women, unfortunately. Some of the and it's really unfortunate. I mean, I literally had one of my managers say, "You are not getting that promotion. I'm giving it to him because you are a woman."
You are going to be pregnant.
And then she was, and actually no, I have another story about that. But she lost her job a few months later, and our director at that point was a woman as well. But I don't think that should make a difference. I think it's wonderful if a woman is in a leadership position and is able to be collaborative and be inspirational, but I think a man can do that as well.
Yeah, but I think for me it makes a difference if it's your direct manager or the manager of the company. Because your direct manager for me doesn't really make a difference if it's a man or a female. But for me, I find it really inspiring that we have Bianca as our CEO. So
Sure.
yeah, it really in the top management. Yeah.
They don't get there if they skip all the other steps.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm digesting everything. Yeah. What I wanted to say is actually all of my managers have been men, and until now they have been very supportive. I don't have kids yet, but I do feel that in a couple of years, when I would maybe try to start having kids, I would be more confident if my direct manager was a woman, because I think on average women are more supportive of each other because they understand, because we all share the same body that can make children. So I do think just because of the genetic point of view that women, I have the feeling that women maybe would be more supportive than men, even though I've only worked for supportive men. And also right now I'm feeling very confident and supported by my male manager. But yeah.
I saw you
I think that's also
I saw you front when we said, do you want to have a female manager? I saw her front and I thought,
I had female managers, male manager. So for me personally, it's like I really like to work with a female manager because the communication style I love. Male managers can sometimes be like, I think, don't get the deepness. They are, for me, like how I work and like to work. So for me, it's more like the communication style and how female has like the work ethic. Like I really like the competence about it, and especially also when I started at my previous company, I grew higher in the ladder, and I could also decide what kind of people I want in my team. I always had prefer female, or not always, but I had dominance. Yeah, I really want to work with females, not because they are female, but because how we work and how we see things and how we think. So that's really important.
Maybe if I'm allowed to add something to this discussion, maybe from a different perspective. The question, do I want to work for a company if there's a female manager? For me, it's all about values, core values, and whether I feel comfortable with them. So if there is a woman or a male manager who doesn't align with my values, then that's important for me to base my decision on. To put it differently, let's say there is a manager, not the CEO, because I agree it's really inspiring if that's a woman, that really helps for me, but my line manager, if he or she displays specific behavior in terms of communication style, and other managers on his level or her level don't check in on this, there are no checks and balances, for me that shows something about the values of the company, the way it operates, the way the people are to each other, and for me that's the basis level on my decision. Do I want to be here? Because that also impacts your abilities to grow. It doesn't matter if it's a male or a female, but if the core values are not okay, if they're not open, if they're not transparent, then what are your chances to succeed there? So I think that's basis level, and then it's about inclusivity, not diversity. It's a theme. Thank you.
What about maybe like on the flip side, managing teams? Like, do you see a big difference managing women versus men?
well, I only have one. So I have to think about that.
After this, you have me. So
Yeah, I have two, so no, I think that I will be super in our team. No, I don't think there's a difference. But to add to that, to what you said, I have a female CEO at our company, Anne Green. And I think that Anne is a great person on a personal level, but if you look at the hierarchy of the organization, so Aberdeen is a very conservative organization and we have several responsibility layers, and the opportunity to get to your manager and get the chance to discuss what you think is best for the organization, that decides whether or not it's a great organization, not the manager. Because sometimes the manager doesn't have any real involvement or real stakes that they can challenge. So, and to add to your story, I had the same. And I was really frustrated with women, to be honest. I thought, well, if I have a female manager again, she will be a very nasty woman with all their nitty-gritty things and the personal things when I discuss. So I'd rather work for a man. Till I work for Anne, and I see Anne is really inspiring and she's really involved, but she doesn't have the time to be my manager. So I have to do it myself. I'm global head of the Netherlands, and I took on that responsibility. And at one moment in time, you have to decide, I have to do it myself, and there's nobody backing me up. Take that position and go.
And we can help each other, you know? We can reach out to each other and speak alone, I think. So we should reach out to each other more, like you already did. We did. Victoria and myself did, and we still are in contact. So it's fun. It's good to share things, I think. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest differences between men and women I see organising these kind of events is, you know, I'll reach out to women and ask them to participate in a panel, and a lot of them will say, oh, I'm not an expert in that, I couldn't possibly do that. You ask a man, they have no idea, they'll get on a panel and do it. There's a saying, there's nothing more confident than a white middle-aged man on a panel. Which kind of brings me to the next question about imposter syndrome. Hands up here, who's ever encountered imposter syndrome? So quite a lot of ladies. So how do you overcome it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was really imposter syndrome, but I was way more inconfident when I was younger, definitely. But I think the most important is that you have to keep in mind that making mistakes is no problem at all. You will learn from it, and please take on new challenges, especially when you think you cannot do them for the 100%, but you are able to do them for 50%, and for 50% you will learn, definitely. If you do that, take on new challenges and go for it, then it will grow on you.
Yeah, I can agree on that. Yeah, I think sometimes when I started working, I felt like everybody else knew more than me. But then at a certain point, you realize that they're looking at you also that way because, oh, she knows. And then I think, yeah, I do know.
Yeah, I think it's human to be not super self-confident, or it's a female to be not super self-confident if you do something new. Fine, you will learn, you will grow into that role, you realize how smart you are, well prepared you are. At a certain point you feel more confident, but as you said, very often men overestimate their abilities. That's, by the way, that also has a name, Dunning-Kruger effect. They make the others smaller and think they have it all. So I preferred our insecurities than the other way around, to be pushed down again and back to reality one day and realizing, oh, I'm not as great as I thought I am. So yeah, it's all good, it's fair. I don't have to combat my feelings, and I don't recommend women saying, okay, you're not allowed to have these emotions. Still be good to have those emotions, and you will see that things become easier.
And what I did when I was younger is that I had that little voice. So it was a sort of, how do you say it in English, a sort of self-bedrog. So I used it myself in order to make myself smaller, and it wasn't done by the outside. I did it to myself. So everything has to do with, love yourself. It's cheesy, I know, but at the end, that's the basis. Because you don't need. I did it myself. So sometimes we have that little voice that says, you can do it. I do it.
I just want to add to that because I definitely had imposter syndrome. I suffered from it terribly because I had been out of the corporate world for quite some time. And so when I came back, I was like, should I really be here? And do I know enough? And am I good enough? Whatever. And this is quite recent because I just rejoined the workforce about 3 years ago. And communication for me was the key. Asking questions, not being afraid to ask questions. And when I did that, and when I started communicating with my colleagues, I realized, yeah, darn right I should be here. And not only that, I probably know more about certain things and have more experience than my colleagues. And then when I showed that I was willing to ask a question, that opened up the discussion. Other people were also willing to ask questions, and that gives you then that confidence. So I think an open line of communication is also something that's very important in that situation.
Any other questions, or anyone have any tactics for dealing with imposter syndrome?
Next time I get mine.
What helped for me is to be open about it towards my manager. So now he's also checking up on me. Hey, how are you doing this month? We have monthly catch-ups. How do you feel? I also propose to do a course where you really do a deep dive in your personal self and everything, and I haven't done it yet, but he's also open to me doing that course. And he also said, oh well, yeah, actually a very big part of the team has it, I didn't know that there's a name to this syndrome. For me it was just, oh yeah, I'm insecure, I don't know if I'm good enough. But apparently a very big part of the team, which is 50-50 male-female, also has it. And I think that really helped for me to really just be honest about it, and open about it, and be vulnerable. And that's also something that I want to encourage other people to do, because otherwise it's always going to be that voice in your head, and it's not something that's acknowledged. And then also my manager can also see, hey, I see that you haven't done this yet, or you haven't done that conversation with that client yet. Are you comfortable enough to do it? And then we work on steps to actually try to get that confidence, and that really helped me in becoming better in what I do. Good for you.
And to add to that, I see a lot, but that's not only women but also men, is that the things that you don't feel comfortable about, or that you need a little bit more support about, that's the last thing you do. So you have your roles, your responsibilities, and then at the end you have to do something that you're not really comfortable about. And what we see in our, we have a lot of reporting. So as the investor meetings, and one of those things, we see that people are not comfortable doing, like, for example, cash flow models. We have in the team a few people that are not that brilliant with Excel or whatever, and they always do that at the end. And I noticed that, so I said, why are you running late with your cash flow models? We need them for the reporting. And then end up saying, well, I'm not so good at it, actually. And then I said, oh, no matter, we can do it together, or we can do a course for you, but just owning up to your mistakes or your uncomfortable situations makes you better again. So after I've done that, again, that Excel for Dummies, he was better and he was performing again. So it's actually being that leader and making everybody feel comfortable in doing that. And I think that, coming back to the question, being a great leader is just being supportive on all mistakes. Everybody has something that they're great on and things that they're not great at, really on. So, but helping each other and making them better again.
Perfect. So to wrap up the panel, we can sum up with what would be your one piece of advice that you would like to give to the next generation of female leaders?
Well, if you first of all, work hard, go for it, take on new challenges, but maybe most important, I would say, stay authentic, and then you will definitely get there.
Yes, be authentic, I would say, as a leader. Yeah.
I think to come back to you, your ambition to grow and having that manager supporting you, I think asking feedback, honest feedback on what you can learn, and not think that you're already there and doing the best things. Even women can be a little bit opportunistic about things. So feedback, growing from that will take you along the path to being that manager or director.
Yeah, and I would like to add, find a topic that makes you enthusiastic, that drives you, because then everything is more easy, also the difficult part.
If we discussed now, one last point is be patient. So not everything needs to be done when you turn 35. There's a lot of life coming after that. So don't be on a rush. Take your time. It's nothing for tomorrow.
Thank you.